Dirty Thursday with the Bullring Boys. Welcome, everybody. World of Outlaws sprint car announcer, Hall of Famer Johnny Gibson on the show today from Florida. We'll be talking with Johnny in just a couple of minutes. Your show today brought to you by Executive Properties. Are you still putting off that project around the house that's been bugging you forever? Do you think you can wait until spring and call a contractor and have the work done ASAP? Well, good luck with that. Executive Properties has openings right now to get that project done. In fact, you can check out their Google reviews. Aaron says Chris and his team did a spectacular job on the damage to my aunt's garage and siding. Kept us up to date on the progress, and the finished product was amazing. Thank you for your professionalism and hard work. Hey, get that project done sooner than later. Call Executive Properties, 701-330-1273. And make sure you call Executive Properties, too, for snow removal, all right? If you want to call us or text us, have any questions for Johnny Gibson, our number, 701-213-0863, 701-213-0863. And before we get going, let's do it, our daily segment called Jokes My Neighbor Tells Me. Here we go. Speaking of Florida, my wife told me she wanted to travel. Yeah, my wife says, I want to travel, so I told her, grab a basketball and take 3 steps.
John did not. I saw Johnny leave his head back. He's like, oh, that was.
Yeah, I'm hoping she's not watching because I will get a text if she is. Johnny, how are you, man?
Finally kicking off the 2024 season.
Yeah. Where are you right now?
I am in the parking lot of Volusia Speedway Park in Barberville, Florida. We actually have sprint cars on track tonight. It's the germ-free Southern Sprint Car Shootout for 360 sprint cars, USCS sanction. Tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, it's the richest race in USCS history.
Wow.
A $10,000 top prize on Saturday night.
Wow.
Of course, you can catch all the action live on Dirt Vision.
Yeah, how about that?
That's
That's
awesome.
worth a round of applause.
Heck yeah.
So, how are you doing?
Yeah, how's your off-season treating you?
The off-season's been interesting, but good. Spent some time in Pennsylvania with my dad and did Thanksgiving there and got to see some old friends, and then Christmas with my girlfriend and her family in Kansas. And when it got to be a little chilly in Kansas, that's when it was time to head south to Florida.
When you say a little chilly, how chilly was a little chilly?
When they were talking about temperatures below zero for sustained days, it was time to head south.
That's awesome.
Do you still have your travel partner with you, your cat?
Yep, in fact,
Right there.
he's right back here. Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there it is.
you go.
That's cool.
Now, people that don't know you, when I mentioned your travel partner, you basically live in a motorhome. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct. I live in my motorhome 24/7, 365. I've done that for the last 9 years. It just makes more sense to do it this way. The last time I had a house or apartment, I was actually living in the Twin Cities area. I was living in Shakopee, Minnesota, and I was home 89 nights the entire year.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And you know, the thing is, you look at your motorhome, or you can look at the background where you're at, and that looks like it's a pretty swanky ride you got there.
It's not bad for something that's more than 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Especially when you talk about living in quarters with not being at home. I mean, it's perfect to have a home on wheels.
Yeah, it really is. It's made a huge difference in my attitude being on the road. I really wish I would have done this 15 years earlier.
Oh, sure.
But it is so nice to be able to have home with me wherever I go, being able to come back to the motorhome, even on race day, just for that 10 minutes before we get the show started. A chance to change clothes, refresh, grab something to eat, and not have to eat track food everywhere I go.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Be able to have my home with me whenever I'm on the road.
Yeah,
You know,
awesome.
speaking of track food, I am asked this because I do high school hockey games and I go from different arena to different arena. But is there a racetrack, Johnny, that you think has the most incredible, best
good
tasting
question.
food out there?
I'm not sure if there's a particular track. There are certain tracks that have certain things that I really look forward to when I go there. Now, having said that, I try to eat at home most of the time, but there are those tracks where I definitely need to get something special while I'm at that track. The pizza burgers at Eldora. Boy, with Devil's Bowl Speedway being gone now, I really miss the burritos at Devil's Bowl Speedway.
Oh, wow.
You go to Pennsylvania, Bricker's French fries at the racetracks out there. The barbecue sandwich at River City Speedway.
Yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So do you actually get an off season? Do you get a winter break? Do you get a little bit of time to actually just kick back and relax and not think about racing?
Well, I'm not sure there's ever a time where I'm not thinking about racing, but yeah, I basically have from say the week after World Finals in November until right around now. Now, I did come here to Florida in December as well for the Battle at Barberville, a 360 race that they had here in December. Not as an announcer. In fact, I won't be announcing this weekend either, but I'll be in the booth as part of the race direction team. So a little bit different, a chance to kind of spread my wings a little bit. And I think it's really good for a race announcer to be able to do other things as well and get a better appreciation for the officials and for the crew members, for the drivers, all of that sort of thing. So I think it makes me a better announcer being able to do some different things at non-World of Outlaws races.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree.
That makes total sense because then you see here like how hard the decisions are to make at that race direction type of thing and knowing where you're at and what you're doing and what do you do, John, when people, because you write and announce all your stuff that pre-play for you as you can get a break in every now and then. When do you start recording those things for the season?
Actually, I should be able to start doing that early next week. They should have all the sponsor stuff finalized and get the script to me, and I'll begin recording those next week for the most part. Now, there are some updates that take place throughout the season, so it's not a one-and-done sort of thing. I do update those throughout the season, but for the most part, the basic outline will be done next week.
Yeah. Do you do that right from the motorhome, or do you have a studio somewhere that you can go to, or how does that work for you?
No, I actually do it here in the motorhome. I've got a mixing board and a program that I use. So I use Sony Acid for my recordings. We run it through the mixing board and then render it as an MP3 and send it back to the studio in Charlotte, and then they kind of massage everything and get it into place where they can use it in conjunction with the video and the big screen and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, okay, that's huge. How big has that been, John, since that came about? Just even to give you time to take, give your voice a break on race night. How big has that been?
Oh, it's huge. And, again, in the early days when we didn't have the technology to do that, I was doing, say we had 28 different sponsor reads and they each had a 30-second ad that needed to be read 3 times a night.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a lot of extra wear and tear on the voice that doesn't really need to happen.
Yeah, wow.
So when you're at these races like you are now starting tonight and you're not behind the microphone, don't tell me that you've never just wanted to reach over and grab the mic and take over.
I don't know about that. It actually, I think, also helps me as an announcer to be able to hear other announcers. Maybe I recognize something in somebody else's call that I think, hey, I should incorporate more of that.
Yes.
Or maybe I hear something that somebody else does and I think, hey, I need to watch that. Maybe I do that too often, say the same thing too often. It's really nice to be able to hear other voices and incorporate a little bit of everything and try to make my presentation the best that it possibly can be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer.
Awesome.
We were talking about you're a big Pittsburgh sports fan. Chad mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers. In fact, you're a Steelers fan, a Penguins fan. In fact, I owe you a beer. I think I lost a bet. I think that was on the hockey game. We might have to keep doing this thing via text if you don't mind. Pretty soon by the time you get here in June.
Sidney Crosby? Are you kidding me?
Oh, for sure. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Wild, man.
Goodness.
Come on.
Oh my goodness.
I think I only owe you one beer, don't I?
Yeah, I think it was a really good game though. And
yeah.
I was a little disappointed because as a Penguins fan, that was one of the games that Marc-Andre Fleury was not playing for the Wild. So I didn't get to see him in net against the Penguins. But,
right.
The flower. There you go.
The flower.
I can remember watching Sid Crosby here at the World Juniors. Yeah. He was here that year. I announced like 16 games that year. He was here, Team Canada. Also, Ovechkin was here with the Russian team.
Yeah, you told me that.
Boy, that was really fun. Those guys were just kids. Under 20 and under or whatever. Right. But man, that was a long time ago. You look at Ovechkin now, and he's got the gray hair, and boy,
yeah.
Big Pittsburgh Steeler fan too.
I will say this about about Grand Forks hockey. When I lived in Minnesota, I did have the opportunity one winter to come up and take in a UND game, and boy, the atmosphere is just absolutely unbelievable. And of course, the Ralph puts a lot of the NHL arenas to shame.
Yeah, it really does.
It's amazing. It's crazy to have that one spot here. I'd say almost in the middle of nowhere in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Having that one arena is pretty iconic. Same with the Speedway. The Speedway is iconic as well.
Mm-hmm. Hey, how many tracks have you been to, Johnny, in your career?
We're closing in on 400. Actually, if you give me a second, I can look up the exact number because I have it on my phone here. Let's see. I have been to...
Oh, geez. Drum roll, please.
395 different racetracks.
Oh,
that is awesome.
And that is in how many states, how many countries, how many continents? You've been all over the world for dirt track racing.
4 countries: United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. I think I've been to racetracks in 43 out of the 50 states.
Wow.
And there is a slight chance I might be able to sneak in a new one next week before we get started here. There is a track here in Florida, actually just down the road from Ocala Speedway or Bubba Raceway Park.
Oh, sure.
Marion County Speedway that I didn't even know existed.
Okay.
And I saw an ad, they're running micro sprints starting next week, so I might sneak over there for a night.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is, the 7 states you haven't been to, they probably don't even have a racetrack there anyway.
Right.
You know?
Possible. Very possible. Johnny, hey,
I think there's only one state that doesn't currently have an active racetrack, and that's Rhode Island.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's, I get that.
Yeah.
John was just talking about it too, watching how he's watched these kids grow up from hockey. You've been announcing a long time. You've seen these drivers now, the Donnie Schatz, the Houghton Shields, those guys grow up as people. How cool is that to watch in person?
It's very cool, and now I'm kind of seeing the other side of it because I'm seeing kids and in some cases grandkids of people that I called when I first started being out here racing sprint cars. So that's really a cool experience to see the generational progression of our sport.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Now, we talk about all these different racetracks. I know you're quoted. I know we use the quote up here, River Cities Speedway. As, weekly as this being your favorite racetrack. But is it really your favorite racetrack, or was it really hard to pick from? Because people will ask me, and you could probably attest to this too, Johnny, who's your favorite band? I can't really say I have one, but I can name you my top 10, or something like that. But you really dig River Cities.
Like that with racetracks. But my thing about River City Speedway, the thing that makes it my favorite is, though not every race there that I've seen has been amazing, there have been very few, if any, bad ones. And that's the thing where it keeps it at the top of my list. There are some tracks that I've seen spectacular races, but I've also seen some stinkers along the way.
Sure.
And River Cities is the one that just seems like so consistently puts on a good race.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been to the World of Outlaws when they ran on a half-mile track south of us here.
Yep.
It was some of the most boring racing I think I've ever seen. I think the time difference between first through fifth was probably 5-6 seconds, something like that.
Sure.
When you come here to the Bullring, it's a lot different. Like you said, a lot closer racing. Do you favor the bigger tracks, Johnny, the smaller tracks, or doesn't matter? Racing's racing.
I'm definitely a small track guy. I am definitely, quarter mile, third mile. My thing is not so much circumference or the distance around the track. I like wide race tracks where there's room to maneuver, throw a nice slider. And that's the other thing that I really like about River City Speedway. Though it's only a quarter mile in circumference, it's like 90 feet wide.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's huge.
And it's got a big parking lot for your motorhome.
Yes.
A lot of things people don't know about you, Johnny, obviously being the sports fan, a Pittsburgh guy. And we had talked a little bit about this before, and we've talked about it. I didn't even know it until I visited you in your motorhome a couple of years ago. But you're quite musically talented, too, aren't you?
About that, I do a little bit of everything. Half good, and that kind of has gotten me by. But back in the day, we're talking mid 80s from the time I started college until the late 1990s when I began working for the World of Outlaws. I actually played in bands that whole time. In fact, for a few years there, I was, somewhat of a professional musician. I say that because it was kind of my only job. I didn't really have a real job, but it was a big time struggle to make any money. But man, I had a lot of fun doing it. I
Right.
played in several bands that we did all original material or mostly original material. I actually played for a little bit in a band that had a record deal with MCA, although I did not record with them. They had the album done by the time I joined the band. So I got to experience a lot, and I still keep up with it. Now, back in those days, I was a drummer. I played drums.
Oh.
But when I started traveling with the World of Outlaws, I bought a guitar and basically taught myself to play because it's obviously a lot easier to carry around a guitar than a set of drums.
That's
So,
true.
so how many guitars adore your motorhome right now?
Actually, I've actually just cut it back even more. My girlfriend recently purchased a house, so I don't have to carry around everything I own with me all the time. So I put 3 more guitars at her place. So right now I have my electric and 3 acoustics on the road with me. When I moved from the apartment and got the motorhome for the first time, I had to pare down from 12 to 7 guitars.
Wow.
The guitars have their own room, John.
Yeah. That's nice. Boy, I tell you what, we've got some people texting us right now that normally don't text. The greatest race car voice, love Johnny. Go Sue. Yeah, Sue. Nice shout out, Johnny. Lots of people watching. Bill Olson, Arizona. There we go.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Can anybody find any of your music if they dug deep enough on social media, John, or is it all hidden away in a vault somewhere?
No, actually, about 5 years ago, one off season, I was back in Pittsburgh. I actually caught up with some of the guys I used to play with and had a chance to record a couple of songs that I had written while I was on the road. So if you dig on SoundCloud, and I believe it's under Johnny Gibson on SoundCloud, but there are a couple of original songs there that I recorded at Tonic Studios in Pittsburgh about 5 years ago.
Okay,
wow.
because I think you showed me that when we were in your motorhome a couple of years back. If I remember right.
Yeah, I might have. I honestly, I hardly even, sometimes I even forget that it's on there. I put it up right after I recorded it, but I don't think that part of me is done yet either. I think at some point I'll go back and maybe do a little bit more recording and. The other thing I've had a chance to do the last couple of years at the Jackson Nationals at Jackson Motorplex, I've gotten to sit in with the Jeremy DeWall band. They usually play after the races.
Yeah.
I've gotten to sit in with those guys a couple of times.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Rumor has it, when they come up here in June, we'll talk about this a little more later. Rumor has it, Johnny might bring the guitar with him in the studio here, so we'll talk about that.
There we go.
Johnny Gibson, World of Outlaws, sprint car announcer, is our guest today on a Dirty Thursday. Let's just take a quick little time out. I know Johnny's hurting for time here, too, because he's got to go to work later on, but let's talk a little bit about Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Life doesn't ever seem to slow down. Everybody's in a hurry. Everything needs to be done like a month ago. Same with oil changes. Most are done at Valvoline Instant Oil Change 15-20 minutes. That's about as much time as I spend there. Also, they're going to chop off your fluids. They're going to check your tires, battery, lights, wipers, your cabin air filter. They'll give you a discount if you own a fleet or if you're in the military. And they can even do like tranny and coolant flushes too. They'll text it in and email invoices and coupons. And if you mention us, Grand Forks Best Source, they'll drop $10 off your oil change. Pickup and deliveries available in Grand Forks too. Hey, for a complete oil change and more, Valvoline Instant Oil Change, 3325 South 38th Street, or call 701-780-8462. And again, make sure you tell them Grand Forks Best Source sent you. Johnny Gibson, World of Outlaw, sprint car announcer. Schedule's been released. John, you guys will be back. Let's see here. It'll be June 7th, the Don Mack Classic. Of course, Don passed away here recently, Donnie.
Yes.
Your memories of Donnie Mack, John?
Man, just fantastic memories, and that goes from before I even set foot in Grand Forks for the first time, back when the World of Outlaws would do the 3-day show down at the Red River Valley Speedway in Fargo, and Don was the promoter there. I actually got introduced to Don by Ted Johnson, so a couple of the iconic figures in the sport of sprint car racing. Ted, when I was very young, in fact, I met Don before I even started announcing. I was just selling programs for the World of Outlaws. The first year and a half I worked for the series, I had never had a microphone in my hand, and I met Don Mack before I ever announced my first World of Outlaws race.
Wow,
Oh,
that's a
wow.
great story. Of all the Macs, because there's like 900 of them that have raced sprint cars. Of all the Macs I've tried to get on this show, the one I figured would never come on this show was Donnie. And when Donnie was on the show, it was probably one of the best Dirty Thursday shows we've ever had. We were going to plan it on bringing him back this year, but man, rest in peace, Don Mack. What a great guy. I wonder what there's some very cool background info.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get to that too. We got some questions from Jason Berg. You probably know Jason too, but now this whole new thing, Kyle Larson, Brad Sweet, the High Limit Sprint Car Series, 50 races, blah, blah, blah. Is this going to, and I don't mean the blah, 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 but
Right.
how is this, and will this affect the World of Outlaws?
Sure, if there's an answer for that yet, all I can say is the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series will continue to be the industry leader in providing entertainment for race fans across the country and around the world. Again, this is not something that's going to change the way we do business. We're going to keep doing what we do. It's something that, as a World of Outlaws employee since 1997, I've been through a couple of times in the past, and honestly, we just keep our head down doing our thing, and then when it's all said and done, I think the World of Outlaws will still be the greatest show on dirt.
Sure, because you've got people that are calling it a split, almost like a divorce. Like you said, this has happened before.
Yeah.
But you guys keep plugging away. And every year we've got the World of Outlaws back.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Twice the summer too.
Yeah.
I agree with John. Like, you put your head down to the grindstone, and you're going to do your job, and at the end of the day, you're going to have Dirt Visions coming off with World of Outlaws as your premiere show. So there's obviously controversy and everything else going on with this, Johnny, but I think you're 100% hit nail on the head, man.
Absolutely. Hey, do you ever suffer from burnout? I mean, I'm looking at your schedule. The schedule's out 86 nights, 41 tracks, 19 states. You guys crisscross the United States how many times? Does Johnny Gibson ever burn out? Because I, in a million years, couldn't imagine you do.
There are times when it is like other jobs where maybe there are nights where things don't go exactly your way, or you have some technical difficulties, or maybe you've gotten very little sleep because it's been a 5-hour drive and the race the night before ran long. But when it's all said and done, and I say this all the time, and people have heard me say this for years, but it's no less true. I am the luckiest sprint car fan in the world. I go to races, you guys know this. I go to races on my off nights to just sit in the stands and watch sprint car racing. So I am the luckiest sprint car fan in the world. I get to watch the greatest drivers in the world do their thing night in and night out, and I get to talk about it. So whether or not there are times where it can wear on you, bottom line is I've got the best job in the world, and I can't imagine wanting to do anything else to try to make a living.
Yeah.
So, okay, awesome. How about this for a question then, Johnny? The greatest voice on dirt, when you show up at a racetrack and you just want to go spectate and kind of hang back in the weeds a little bit, do people mob you like you're a rock star?
Oh, I wouldn't say that, no. There is some level of recognition there, but it is nowhere near what a real celebrity would have to deal with. And in a lot of ways, I'm kind of thankful for that. I'll go back to I came to North Dakota when the Schatz family was running Red River Valley Speedway, when they had Tony Stewart in for Tony Stewart night, and he ran a late model. And to watch what he went through with the fans who basically wanted to get a piece of him in whatever way they could, whether it was an autograph or to talk to him, or just to touch his shoulder, and to see what somebody like that deals with day in and day out. I probably wouldn't want to go through it. I mean, it is harrowing to see what some people are willing to do to meet their favorite celebrity.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I don't really have to deal with anything near that level.
I bet you, though, when you show up at a racetrack as a spectator, you don't have to buy too many beers for yourself or food.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Getting back to this, when we're talking about the new High Limit Sprint Series, Jeff Liebrick says it's a win-win for both series. Late model series have been doing it for a few decades. More exposure for top-level sprint car racing. Kelly O'Hara, good morning, boys. Josh Johnson, I was lucky enough to attend the last show at Devil's Bowl. Johnny, do you think the finish at the event couldn't have been scripted any better than the last show at the Devil's Bowl?
Oh man, that when it's all said and done, we said goodbye to an iconic venue and really the birthplace of the World of Outlaws. So the crowd we had there that night and the atmosphere and the people that have been part of the World of Outlaws throughout history that were able to come back. I think it went pretty much perfectly. It was a fantastic way to send off one of the sport's most iconic venues.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, with all the tracks and the thousands of races that you have been to, and we talk about burnout and certain things happening, have you ever had one of those nights, like we call this the blackout night? I was doing a hockey game one night when all of a sudden all the lights in the arena went out and stayed out. It was so bad people couldn't see to get out the door. We sat there for a half hour in the dark waiting to figure out what was going on. Here it was a big, one of the transformers had blown down the highway a little bit, but they actually had to drive a police car out in the middle of the ice to get a spotlight so he could shine around so people could actually see. But have you ever had one of those nights where it was just like, oh my goodness, what else could happen, where it's something that you'll never forget?
Right.
Sure. It's happened several times throughout my career. When you talk about the lights going out, it happened to us at Cottage Grove, Oregon. My first year working for the World of Outlaws, in the middle of the feature, all of a sudden the entire place goes black while the cars are on the track under power.
Boy.
And we got so lucky that there were no crashes. Nobody, got into each other. Everybody was able to get the car stopped. But, the lights going out at the facility, or power failures in the booth, or the timing and scoring stops working. That's part of dealing with technology. Occasionally there are breakdowns, and you find a way to improvise and work your way around it and try to keep the program going.
Yeah. Hey, Scott wants to know, what's the greatest race you've called, when, and where?
Way too many to pick out one in particular. I will say there is a moment, and it's not necessarily a race call, but a moment that will always stand out to me. And that was being able to be on the microphone at Eldora Speedway when Brad Doty got back in the restored Coors Light number 18 and paced the field for the Kings Royal. I was very, very fortunate to be part of that, because growing up, Brad was one of my favorite race car drivers. And now that I've been in the industry and gotten to know Brad, I consider him a friend. We talk on the phone, we text back and forth. And so to be able to be there and be part of that, especially at such an early point in my career, that was one of the first real defining moments, I think, of my career as a World of Outlaws announcer.
A lot of people, especially around here, Johnny, don't just think of you as Johnny Gibson, World of Outlaw announcer. We just got this from Kaylee Elizabeth, just finally joined, so I don't know if it's been talked about, but we love when Johnny has came to announce the kart races. Kenna got to do the 4-wide salute with him announcing. Very, very cool for those kids to experience that. That also was the night she got ran over in one of the heats and was done racing. But once she learned she had the opportunity to do that, she hopped in and went out because she knew you were going to be there. Great memory for us all. When I talk about you getting mobbed at a racetrack, these kids, for sure, man, you are rock star status when you show up at a go-kart track like you do at Forks Karting.
It's something that, if there is any way that I can kind of give back to the sport that's allowed me to make a living for the last nearly 30 years, and especially for the kids, it is cool for me to be able to go over there and read the lineups for the upcoming races and see so many names that I recognized. And again, we talked about the generational thing in sprint car racing, but so many names that I recognized from sprint car action at River Cities Speedway, to see that next generation coming up in the karts at River Cities Karting. So again, I'm happy to be able to do it. Unfortunately, I really didn't get to do it last year. I went over the Wednesday night before the June show, and just as we were about to get started with the features, the rain started to come down and we got rained out. And now the second visit in September, or in August rather, has been pushed back the last couple of years. So by the time we get there, the karting season is done. So I only really get one opportunity. So that's why I try really hard to kind of put in some heavy miles to get there for Wednesday night before the show in June so I can get over to the kart track.
That is
Sure,
so cool.
sure.
And we appreciate that, John, immensely, because these kids, well, it's probably 2 years ago, I think it happened. We did that for the first time,
Yeah.
I think you did it. And it's still, to this day, that's what they talk about consistently.
Yeah.
So
All the time.
We 100% appreciate that for you doing that for us here in Grand Forks. For
Hey,
sure.
Mike Speaker from Speaker Promotions, what does your pre-race homework prep look like? I've always been impressed how you can rattle off stats for drivers, especially the non-outlaws during qualifying. How do you keep all those stats and results?
Basically, I put together a spreadsheet for each race night. So when I talk about having the greatest job in the world, the part where I'm on the mic and talking and calling the races, that's fun. That is enjoyable. I think where I earn my money, or the part of it that's maybe more of a grind, is the time that I spend here in the motorhome staring at a computer screen.
Yeah.
Going through race results and track point standings and making phone calls and texts to find out, is this guy planning on racing with us? Or where is he at in the local point standings? What's his best finish this season? How many career wins here? That sort of thing. It all goes into an Excel spreadsheet that I pare down on race day based on the entries. But I would say, and this will vary a lot, especially depending on the time of year, but anywhere from 4 to 9 hours worth of homework for each race, preparation leading up to the race. More time spent at the beginning of the year when everything's fresh, where I don't have a solid background for the season. A little less time as we get to the end of the year, where I basically just have to go through an update. I have, when we race at Grand Forks in June, I have the stats up till then, and then when we come back in August, I just have to update those stats. I don't really have to start from scratch.
All right, a couple of more questions. What was one of your favorite races you got to call at River Cities Speedway?
Oh man,
He's wondered about the Schuart finish.
Race there with Kyle Larson and Logan Schuart. That was amazing. The night that we set the track record there, when it had rained and we had that long delay, and Jason Myers went out and went that incredible 9-2, and they're just again, there's so many cool races there. It's really hard to single out one. I enjoy my time there immensely.
I remember a few years back when it was Steve Kinzer, I think, going at it with Donnie Schatz, and these guys had traded the lead like 50 times in that feature, and I think Donnie won, and I think Steve got second. But the thing is, with Steve Kinzer, he'd come out of the car, and right away one of his mechanics would hand him a cigarette.
Yeah.
and he'd smoke this. He was so winded, his hands were down on his knees. He was trying to catch his breath after he got out of the car, and the guy came with a cigarette, and he went, I don't want it. And, no, I don't want it. So, he got his work in that day. Jordan Adams wants to know, who's Johnny's 2024 preseason favorite to win the World of Outlaws
Championship? That's a big question.
Yeah,
big question.
That's like loaded.
Yeah, it is. Right now, I would say, you're looking at 3 drivers probably battling for the championship: David Gravel, Carson Macedo, and Donnie Schatz. And again, we know about Donnie's struggles the last few years, but I don't think you can ever count him out as a championship contender. I would say probably David Gravel is the favorite, but again, Sheldon Hodenshield, Logan Schuart, it's going to be a fantastic year. And what I can hope for more than anything is that it goes right down to the wire.
Yes.
And we don't decide the champion until the final night of the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That would be huge.
All right, you got anything more for him? I know he's got to get to work here.
I'm just sitting here enjoying this right now. I'll be honest with you. I want to just another shout out appreciation, Johnny, to you. I always come and say hi to you, and I give you a fist bump, and I take, I know you're a busy man. I say, good luck tonight, and man, I appreciate everything you do for the sport and always taking time. Even since when you and I met back in Minot, North Dakota, you've always been friendship to me, and I appreciate that very much, sir. You're awesome. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to come on the show, and I am going to kind of give you guys a parting shot here and make you a little bit jealous and tell you that it's actually getting really hot in the motorhome because I have to turn off the air conditioner when I'm doing a Zoom call because it makes a little too much noise. And so it's about It's about 79 degrees outside right now. So when we're done here, I'm going to turn the AC back on and get it cooled off in here again.
You're horrible, right?
You know, we're not regulated by the FCC here, Johnny, so we can reply to you any way we want. Hey, man, safe travels. It's going to be fun to watch you again. We'll be watching you,
Yes.
and we'll be seeing you in June when you guys come up here for the Don Mac Classic. Make sure you bring your guitar. We'll be talking before then, but we'll get you in here, and we'll get you some red pepper when you get here, too. How's that sound?
Sounds great, man. Sounds great. Guys, thank you so much for having me on. I always enjoy coming on Dirty Thursday, and again, look forward to seeing you in person in June.
Awesome.
right.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much.
How about that?
Thank you, guys.
There you go. John Gibson.
I love him.
Yeah, it's fun. And you know, it just kind of came to me because we usually kind of go out of, we do different things in the winter during the off season. And I thought, you know what, let's start talking to some of these guys that we normally talk to in the race season and see what things are going on, when they're down in Florida in the winter, and we're up here freezing our ass off and things like that.
Yeah,
so,
he's turning on the AC right now. Yeah, that's what he
turning on
said.
the AC. I am actually starting to sweat in here just a little bit.
What a great show this was, man.
Yeah, a great show. And again, thanks to John Gibson, and thank you to the other half of the Bullring Boys, Chad Hoff. And thanks to Rumor Sports Bar and Casino here in the Grand Cities Mall. They got that big inaugural sports memorabilia jamboree coming up Saturday, February 3rd. They're only selling 200 tickets. Now, this is a big deal. The tickets include all-you-can-eat buffet. They'll give you 10 tickets for all these incredible drawings that they have with tons of prizes. There's all kinds of autographed jerseys that are already framed and more. $25 will get you unlimited pounders all day. Go into Rumor,
That got my attention.
Go into Rumor Sports Bar and Casino. Ask any of your server for more information. All of you people that have been texting us, I know I didn't get to all of you and get to answer all of you, but thank you guys. We sure appreciate it because 100%. It's you, the fans, that make this show what it is. Don't forget, $7 sandwich and a side today at Rumor Sports Bar and Casino. Go wash it down with a world-famous beer tower. By the way, next week, we're going to be doing some ice racing stuff. Lake Cameron ice racers and mod pilots Styler Scow and Logan Bauer are going to be in the studio. That should be fun.
That'd be good.
Let's see, what do we got going on? Oh, probably the best local sports podcast ever is tonight at 6:30. Check it out. It's called Fork Sports Highway with Monty and Bill and Raven and all of those people.
Yes.
What a great show. I will catch you tomorrow, everybody. Remember to like, share, tag, and follow us. Hit that notification bell on your smartphone. You'll never miss a show that way. The Grand Cities are awesome. Grand Forks' best source is giving them an identity again.